there.
How's it going?
Good. I had a coughing fit early in my sales career at a client, and it traumatized me during a meeting, so I had a lot of empathy today.
Yeah, it's going great. But they're going to throw water and it happens again, so we got it. Good.
So I'm Gabrielle Heyman. I run brand partnerships for Zynga. We're video games for grown-ups. We like to say kind of like they just love music. That's my motto for CES. And I'm so happy to be here with you. Obviously, we're just on the previous panel, so maybe most people already know who you are. You have a great reputation in the industry, so a lot of people know you. Why don't you just do a quick intro?
You're doing such a good job so far. Go on. So at Fantazier, as I mentioned, I do media at Kenvue, and I've been at Kenvue / so you're like, what's Kenvue? I didn't answer this last time. Formerly Johnson & Johnson Consumer Health, so we spun off about 6 months ago. And I've been part of J&J / Kenvue for going on 18 years. So long, varied career there. Actually started in finance, spent about 7 years there. Moved into brand, spent a number of years in more traditional brand management. And over the last couple of years, really focused in on this media space and where it's going.
Wow, 18 years.
It's like an adult career.
I know that's like you're officially an adult. I've been at Zynga 11 years, which sounds like a lot, but not compared to you. All right, so let's do an icebreaker.
Love it.
What is your favorite product that you guys have? Like one thing that you just cannot live without?
So we have a lot of great products, obviously. And I thought about this. I love Listerine. I love sort of technology software. But what I love more than that is pizza. And pizza hurts my tummy. So I think my favorite product is actually lactate.
Nice. Okay.
TMI for 9:30 in the morning. They hurt my belly.
All right. Well, moving to the topic at hand. Last CES, and I think in general this whole past year, there's been a focus on brand performance. Obviously with signals being deprecated and performance being more and more difficult for people to achieve, there's this, I feel like, a new embracing for brand, or where brand and performance overlap. So, like, you run both. How do you see one end and one wicket? And how do they overlap maybe?
Yeah, it's an and more than anything. I think that's what people get wrong is because the last, call it 10 years or so, we've had these great signals, we've had more data we know what to do with, and the answer's always been we have performance data, we can just optimize to a point. Because you're still connecting humans, you still need to create brand equity. That is a longer burn. That's really hard to measure traditionally. And there's a place for brands, absolutely. So the way I would say is you want to look at it from a multi-faceted approach where we have KPIs around performance. We do treat our media more like performance media. What we are looking to, how do we improve our efficiency through better CPM, better placements, better effectiveness through our creative, what's working, what's not, making those types of adjustments. But also it's understanding the human on the other side of that, what are the insights. And those change over time. Not every day, but consumers' needs and how they enter a category and interact with it is dynamic. And being close to that and acknowledging that I'm connecting with the human on the other side of this, and I have to think brand and equity, it's easy to miss because it's just so hard to measure. It's hard to put on a nice chart and have a number attached to it, but it's real. And losing relevance is a real thing that won't kill you overnight, but it's a good way to go out of business really slowly.
Right, exactly. So, like, to be very specific then, because obviously at the end of the day, we want people to make a purchase of your product, right? So then what is the different metric of success from a brand campaign versus a performance campaign?
Yeah, and different media, different campaigns, creative have different jobs to be done. So there's some campaigns where we're going to say up front, I need this to move product, period. Like it has to move product in the period. We're going to measure it against how it's performing from a ROI perspective. That's all. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to keep the lights on. So our one metric we always anchor on is media ROI, period. That is what I'm shooting for. However, this is where the art and science comes in, making sure, is our creative breaking through? Is it relevant? Is it, then you look at those longer term metrics around equity and are we going in the right direction? And having an understanding of our competitive set, it's more of an input into the longer term strategy and creative process versus something that you're going to optimize it's more of the time horizon, I think, is different on those different views.
Right. Yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. So, going to the...
Water thrown at me real quick?
I know it is so dry out here. I don't know how anyone who from Las Vegas can do it. I'm in LA. I know every morning I wake up and my sinuses are like dry. Yeah. All right. So yeah, and that's a common, I think, theme. Like a brand conversion of a new, consumer might take a year to come across versus the performance is like, right there.
Right.
Converting. So let's talk about retail and media networks. And I gotta say, I feel a little guilty because I use my mom's Kroger number when
Don't tell me everything.
and I'm kind of wondering how many people do that. And I have two kids, so like two boys, preteens versus my octogenarian mother. I think I'm confusing Kroger a little bit, but so the retail media network, right, is a walled garden, and how do you leverage their first-party data?
Yeah, it's a signal. And I think that's what we need to treat it as. It is an input. It helps us optimize the channel, but it is not the success metric on its own. So it's a real nuance how we look at it. The biggest asset that retail media network has is their data. Retailers have tremendous, rich, deep, long-lasting information. I mean, Kroger has 2+ decades of how many households in the US? Tons. But they can only see their environment. So it helps us when we're activating against those consumers. It's important to widen that aperture and think about how is this impacting the overall marketplace. Because I can be running something through Kroger Media that they get exposed to, but they have to be passing a different retailer and waiting for work legal and buy it there. That's not a bad outcome for me, but that'll never show up in their data. So you have to look at it through different lenses and understand that it's valuable, but it is not an all be all. Ultimately, the broader marketplace data is the measure.
Yeah, and we've been talking about how good consumers are, and so when we prepped for this, you talked about retail media is really great with conversion data, but not as much with outcome measurement. And I think even what you just said is a really great example. Can you elaborate more about that?
Yeah, I mean, they have just such, in that environment, they can see the entire closed loop. They can see that if they expose Matt to a message, I did or did not take an action inside of their app experience, or I walked into a Kroger, they know that 100%. Where most of the time, most of the media I run across national partners and all of that, typically I'm lighting prayer candles and hoping that people convert on it. It is not I do not have the luxury of direct response media with 99% of what we're doing. So it is super valuable, but it is limited in what it can tell me beyond their four walls, essentially. That's sort of to the point of partnership we're looking at is how can we really mingle what they're doing the data they have with the insights I have across the marketplace and use that as an input and insights to help us run better media across our broader ecosystem, because I have a purview of both. That's unique in the marketplace where I can see and I value our outcomes in that retailer, but at the end of the day, I sort of don't care if I sell a product at that specific retailer. I want to sell products, period, and it's of course going to drive performance at specific retailers. I know there's a different, larger story to be told there. It's going to help us do a better job holistically.
Yeah, so, I mean, cross-media measurement, it's like this holy grail, right? Like my whole career, we've been talking about it. And I think that there's this concept that would be closer by now, and it seems to me like we're getting further away with platform privacy changes. I mean, is the holy grail possible?
We're not there yet. I mean, it's an industry challenge and it's a limitation we have. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're going to ultimately get there. I think there's a lot of reasons why we don't, but we can apply for that by being smart in our approach with planning, with our execution, making sure that we're coordinating. That's why it's so important to look across all of our executions, because you can control for a lot. Cross-media measurement is really critical when you're bidding against the same things in the same environments. So if I can separate those through our planning process and make sure that we're not reaching the same audiences, that we're not bidding against ourselves in the same environments or the same times with the same messages, the cross-media challenge lessens to some extent. It's always going to be there, and it's going to be great to have it, but we can do things on our side that help make that be less of a barrier and take it as an opportunity to really think differently about our approach.
And curious, like related to that, frequency. You know, there's reach and then there's frequency. What do you think the optimal frequency is? Because maybe it's not a bad thing to reach that same consumer, you know what I mean, X number of times, even on different channels, like you said, because there is such a fluidity in terms of when and how they're purchasing. Like, what is the latest news on frequency?
I would say probably less than you think, but over a longer period of time. So, you know, if you have a bunch of bananas, let's say, you want to spread out those bananas over the year. You don't want to just have your bunch in 1 month. I'm making fun of my partner here. That's a great slide. We'll talk about bananas. But really, you know, consumers are getting hit with, I don't know, 5,000 messages a day or something crazy like that. The odds here to remember any one thing in any one moment, and especially in the categories I work on, the purchase cycles are long. I don't sell Skittles or whatever, where you're this impulse buy, it's happening every week or whatever. People will buy a new bottle of lotion a couple times a year, maybe once, twice, depending on how heavy they are a user of it. Something they may buy once a year. So I need to be there when they're ready to make a purchase. And it's really, we're looking at more of a sustained approach, where we're more always on. We are at a frequency where we're breaking through. But it's not about hitting them 38 times at the same time. They may not be ready to purchase.
Yeah, I mean, just think, like, I used Listerine too, you said that was one of my favorite products, but, like, I'm an ex-smoker, so I use it a lot less since I spit a long time ago, don't worry, guys, but once in a while I fall prey. I have not this Vegas trip, but my question to you, like, this is very tactical and specific, but as a Listerine consumer that probably buys a bottle of Listerine, like, I can probably do once every 2 years now that I quit smoking type of a thing. I'm sure it expires first. All right, well, so, yeah, maybe I need to change I do brush my teeth, obviously, twice a day, but, which, by the way, a lot of people apparently just do it once a day, but that's another story altogether. Someone from that. Like, could you ever know that I just bought Listerine and you shouldn't send me an ad for another year for Listerine?
It's an interesting balance because you're theoretically out of the market. However, and this is where the frequency question I think comes in, I will make sure that I'm top of mind for you, that when you do enter the category looking for oral care, you're thinking about Listerine, you're thinking about that kind of barbell-shaped bottle. Like that's a long burn. You can't just assume that, especially in CPG, how much do you think about the mouthwash you buy? Are you super emotionally invested in that? Probably not. I work there, so I have to be, but like, realistically, most of the products we buy day to day are pretty low involved. We all like to think that everyone cares about our brands, and like, the creative's just so heartwarming, and I'm gonna buy napkins because I love what they're doing. Like, that's not real. People don't care. By and large, people are inherently disloyal. People are like, that is reality. So staying top of mind, creating that mental availability for science of brand growth, if you're in the shop, making sure that you stay top of mind, that is a long burn. It takes a long time to earn that equity, and I think it's incredibly risky. So exit a market and assume that I'll get you back in 6 months or whatever. They may not. They may get exposed to some other ads in between now and then walk into the local retailer and then buy a competitor because it's top of mind. That's the risk.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I have to say that my kids are like in the kids version of Listerine too. Yeah, which was like, this Listerine's very strong, right? But I think that they see it in malls.
It's spicy.
Yes,
spicy.
Definitely. But I love you guys have like the less kind of intense kids version, and that's definitely. And I do think about kids mouthwash a lot more. Fluoride, and they have different needs. They go through it because because I make sure they do it every night. So like speaking to this, we spoke about how consumers have different mindsets. There's like the browsing mindset and then the purchase mindset, and it goes to everything that we're talking about right now. Like, can you tell what mindset they're in? And maybe it doesn't even matter because, again, if I'm not buying this right now, we want to make sure in 6 months I do. Like, can you tell? Like, is there real?
I think we have ideas based upon where they are. So if you're on a retailer property, you're probably a bit more in a purchase mindset. You're at least mid-funnel coming out. So researching, you're finding out what product's right for you. There's signals there, but outside of that, I also think this is a dangerous game to play because there's been a lot of talk about the consumer journey or the consumer, is the purchase funnel broken or is it inverted? I think it's neither. I actually think everybody's purchase funnel is different depending on who you are, the category you're shopping, and how much you care about it. You might be really involved in mouthwash. You really care about your oral hygiene. You just quit smoking. You want to make sure you smell good and it's like really top of mind. You're probably going to take a more traditional path where you're looking for the best product that works the longest and maybe what's best for a smoker to help with whitening teeth or whatever. You're going to be a lot more involved in that. Or it might be something that's fleeting, and then you just buy it. What we see, especially with younger consumers, is they actually purchase, then go back to research. So there's a behavior where they're buying, and if they have a good experience with the brand, go back, learn more about it, and then become more involved. Oh, I really liked Neutrogena. I like that lotion I bought. What else do they have? That's very real behavior too. So I think you have to be ready for wherever they are in the journey to meet them where they are. And it's critical that you're connecting the dots across your media, home experiences, your PDPs, all that is working together so that if you're in a purchase mindset and they want to go to my website or they want to go to a retailer.com, I've got great content there to meet them where they are in that journey. They're upper funnel, they're just kind of learning about it. I have that too. So I think you have some of those signals and you play that, but you have to really think and be ready to meet them where they are.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. When a consumer is looking at product reviews, for example, like I really delve deep on Amazon for purchase. This doesn't even necessarily mean that I'm going to purchase on Amazon, but I'm thinking about it, I'm going to different products, I'm looking at the reviews, and I'm like hemming and hawing and thinking about it. Maybe I'm Gen X, or maybe Gen Z is doing like the inverted thing that you just described with a different timeline of it. But I wanted to, and I thought about this a couple of questions ago, like influencer marketing, right? Because you were like, do people really get that passionate about mouthwash, for example? But a lot of influencer, right? There's also that, like, if there's this creator that's talking about kissing, I don't know, fresh breath, I guess we're obsessed with mouthwash, I don't know why.
You see The Bachelor starting up pretty soon, so we can get into it.
Right. So, like, so I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, how important are consumer reviews versus like a creator endorsing a product?
Depending on the creator and the product, that can be incredibly powerful too. A lot of people buy sneakers because they're big athletes. That's an incredibly powerful endorsement of a product. That can be really, but if a basketball player is talking about mouthwash, how do I care about that? So I think it depends on the product and the person and kind of the involvement in the category. But look, consumer reviews are we know they are wildly influential. I mean, the stars, the comments people have, super important. If you're looking at it, I think that's kind of my point of like meeting where they are. If you're looking for reviews, I better have reviews on my products on my website. Because I don't know that you're going to be down the funnel, but that's, if you're looking for reviews, ready to make purchase by and large. So I better be there to pay it off, and I know it's powerful, so I better have that. But influencers can play that role too. I think it can happen.
Yeah, I think, my kid, I have a 13-year-old boy who's like new to self-care in terms of like deodorant, cologne, and all those things. It is interesting. They get like, their mom bought me this because they saw someone on TikTok doing it. But then sometimes I'll do the reviews and I'm like, there's reviews that this thing sucks. And they're like, no, you have to buy it from me anyway. I've wasted some money like that. But yeah, I think that both are definitely important. So you have a background in finance. And, you know, I mean, responsible spending, right? Like marketing people love having budgets, and obviously we want to improve our efficiency and, you know, get more budget because we're being so effective at moving product. But on the flip side, finance wants us to be as responsible as possible and not spend a penny more than we need to for profitability's sake. Do you feel like your background in finance makes you more conservative in your spending? Or like how does that background inform what you do now?
I think it actually makes me more bullish, because I think it's traditionally, I think that it's likely a lack of understanding though. The way, if I'm doing my job right, I'm positioning media as an investment that's driving growth. And I can show through data that this is a good investment, and oh, by the way, you should do more of it because it'll help your P&L. So understanding the mechanics of the P&L, the realities of financial reporting and reporting to the street and all these things that are real and that we all have to deal with, that is something that if you can use that as a tool to have the conversation on their level, because they don't want you to not spend money, they don't want you to waste money. If I can show that I have an investment that's going to drive growth, a smart finance partner should say, how much more can I give you? How much more growth can you drive? Because theoretically, I can make the numbers look better by doing more of what's working and less of what's not.
Do you find yourself like managing up to them a little bit and really talking about your successes?
Yeah, I mean, you have to explain, because not everyone understands this. I mean, it can be, you know, on the outside, it's, oh, they're running a TV ad or going to a shoot or whatever, and it can feel very vanity.
Yeah.
It can feel like, oh, it's just, that's art, that's making people feel good about our brand, but when the rubber hits the road, does it work? We know it works. We know that media and marketing works. We can measure it. We can definitively show financially if it's a good investment. But you have to be able to have both sides of those conversations. It's important to do these things because we know it drives certain behaviors. And those behaviors equal X from a financial standpoint. So it's a little bit of education, but I would say it's meeting where they are. They don't care about equity and good vibes. They care about bottom line. So good vibes don't hit those. So you have to talk about our ROI, our investment, what this investment is going to drive, what does it mean for our P&L and our calls. You have to be able to speak that language, or it's a great way to get your budget done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my finance is one of my best friends. So just moving on, brand loyalty. We talked a little bit about, and I'm interested in this because I find it fascinating that I think marketers generally err towards youth, to marketing to youth, to like the 18 to 24, 18 to 34 demo, but you know, all of the kind of research that I've seen tells us that like Gen X and Boomers are the ones with the most disposable income, and there's not brand loyalty, and there's a lot of opportunity to convert them. So I'm kind of curious what your perspective on that is. Like, for example, I know Neutrogena is probably a brand that's a younger affinity, but does that really necessarily mean that, you know, older women are not, or men are not converting on there? Like, is demo targeting dead, I guess? And is there, you know, why is there this obsession on youth when there's still plenty of awesome consumers that are 25 to 54?
Yeah.
Or over 49, I should say, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just because you reach a certain age, I mean, if you're 50 years old, chances are you have wrinkles and cash, so like I want to talk to you. I mean, that's
describing me, basically.
I did not say that. But I think you have to look for those behavioral signals in those contexts where you want to show them relevantly. I mean, I used Neutrogena products this morning. I used an eye cream. Just saying.
Even though it's dry, you look very like moisturized, so it's working.
Neutrogena works, guys. So, yeah, hydrate, get it at Target, please. Equal opportunity, don't care. I think it's really dangerous to get caught up in demos. It can help. I think it's a design target more than a media target. I think you think about who do I want to talk to from a product perspective, creative perspective. Hey, this product's going to really, the bullseye is going to be maybe a younger consumer, but don't leave out somebody outside of the network because it may totally speak to them. Or, I mean, I'm a 40-year-old that buys video games and baseball cards, and I have the habits of a 13-year-old. But that's what I enjoy, and that gives me, that's something I do on the side on the weekends, and I enjoy that. But like, they probably want to talk to my son, but I'm one person, right? So you have to be careful with that, but I do think it's a design target.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and another thing that seems to be along the same lines of like, who should we be targeting? Is demo targeting dead? What about media mix modeling? Is media mix modeling dead? I think the last CES, there was a lot of talk on stage around innovators about how like it takes so long to get the information back that it kind of eliminates the ability to be agile, which in this day and age is so important. But yet, so still, even though that is the case, everyone's still learning, it seems like. So is there just nothing better? Like, is it broken? Can we fix it? What's going on?
I would say it's a data point, not necessarily the data point, but it is important. It's incredibly valuable. It's robust. You get a ton of insight out of it. And I think you think about it through different time horizons. So the modeling, yeah, it is delayed for us in CPG. It could take a couple of months, but the insights we get back are so robust that it's feeding back into our strategy. It's helping us do work better that next go around. You don't want to ignore that. I mean, it works. We've seen great success through our modeling, our partnerships across the agency, our data science teams in-house. It's incredibly robust. I think you want to augment that with some of the more hygiene metrics and near-term leading indicators that we can look at to drive performance. So I think it's an and solution, but I don't think it's that might stretch the imagination. But I'd love to see it sooner, sure. At the same time, people aren't buying my products every week, so like weekly or monthly ROI is a bit of a fool's errand in my opinion. Like, we are not driving behavior on a weekly basis in CPG, or at least in like personal care and healthcare. It is more of a 3, 6 month, year-long journey, and that's probably more appropriate time horizon measurement.
Yeah, I feel like the time horizons seem to be impacting more like jumping on cultural moments quickly and things like that.
I think it's been oversold is the problem. It's like you can see in like the DTC brands, oh my God, they can optimize every hour their media mix. Cool, I'm an DTC brand.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how our business works.
Yeah.
I think that's it's sexy and it's like, oh my God, we're real time. That's not how consumers actually shop.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, the medium is I'm in gaming, and it seems to be a blind spot. That signal doesn't show up, even though every other American is gaming, right? And there's like billions of global gamers. So I'm always curious about how we can fix that. It's an emerging media platform, but it's yet like bigger than music component. We get media responding doesn't show. So I think we're like almost done. Maybe one last question, unless Brandon. Yeah, I think we're almost done. Okay, cool. So. Really quick, last question. Any predictions for 2024?
Yeah, always have predictions. So, we talked in the last panel about partnerships. I think that's going to be the biggest thing we see here. But I really think we're going to continue to see the kind of deeper part of that is how media really continues to converge and we think about it more holistically, but then also from an omni-channel perspective. We're starting to see more in-store technology catch up. I think we have to really be cognizant of omni-shopping and true consumer behavior. So I think you're going to see an increased focus on really connecting the dots across the consumer journey, organizationally as well as through a technical execution standpoint.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.